Hello and welcome back to another edition of Saint Spotlight. Today we are joined by Kayla Steltenkamp and member of the Thomas More Education Department here. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition. Now, how are you uniquely qualified to launch and lead this institute? I know you said that as soon as you heard that you were able to get a topic in like dyslexia, that was a spark in your mind.
Yeah. So I taught for 7 years before I ever learned about what dyslexia was. I had an elementary degree, I had a special education degree, and one of my newest qualified students with special education or special needs was dyslexic. And so the director of special ed said, well, what do you know about dyslexia? And I really didn't know a whole lot. I happened to be also working on my doctorate at the time, and a mentor of mine was a professor out of Texas, and dyslexia in Texas is much further than we are here in Kentucky. So I did an independent study on dyslexia back in 2015, and as soon as I learned about what it was, I just was passionate about helping other teachers understand what dyslexia is. I think a lot of the times teachers only know what we've been taught or exposed to, and there was so much misinformation about dyslexia. So my research passion became teacher knowledge of dyslexia, and I have been doing so much work in that field ever since probably 2015 even. So since that time, I have been involved in a lot of different organizations and a lot of movements within our state and within our country. And I always want to help other people just better understand their students or their children or themselves. And dyslexia is not debilitating. It's just something that we have to understand and then give supports and structures to move forward with.
What dyslexia organizations are you associated with?
The one that I've been associated with the longest is the International Dyslexia Association. It's a national organization, and I jumped into that in Kentucky as soon as I started my research because I knew that there was lots of passionate people in our state that are interested in dyslexia as well. And I was the president of our branch for a few years. I'm now still heavily involved. When I was the president of our state, I got connected with a lot of people throughout our country. And so now I stay in close communication with the national board of that organization. And it's just provided a lot of opportunities. So recently I've been working a lot with Made by Dyslexia. It's an organization out of London, but they provide training for teachers, and they've been coming to the States a lot and providing just different opportunities. So I would say that is another one. And then Decoding Dyslexia is an organization that was started by parents, and I've been helping them since 2016 and continue to help them. It is essentially just a resource for parents as they want to learn more.
Now, what drives your research with dyslexia?
I think to me it comes back to when I first learned about what it was. There's two students that I always have in my mind that I think if I knew better, I could have helped them better. And so I really want to just be able to help other people understand their students or their kids or themselves, because it really is, it's something that we can use as an empowering opportunity. And just teach the right strategies and skills. So I think those original two students are still always in my mind because I think I could have if I just knew better. So my passion is always just to help continue to increase knowledge and awareness so that we can support everybody to be successful.
How has your journey in education and work led you to Thomas More University?
I grew up here in Northern Kentucky, so Thomas More is something that has always kind of been in my backyard per se. And I have taught at a variety of different institutions, both public and private. And I was at a public institution before I came here, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the people that I worked with. But I had large classes, and sometimes we would have several classes, several sections of the same class. So there wasn't as much flexibility in terms of adjusting coursework or assignments and things like that. And when Thomas More had an opening or an opportunity to come, it was really exciting because I could come and teach both in the elementary program and the special education program, and I could teach that literacy coursework that I love. So then I was able to kind of adapt the coursework, keeping all of the standards and expectations, of course, but then infusing some of those best practices that I know are helpful for all students. So Thomas More is just a really unique opportunity because we have a more direct impact on our students. For a small program, we're kind of their mothers at some point, I think, but we get to watch them, we get to teach them in the class, we get to go out in the classroom, we get to watch them be able to use what we've taught them practice it with students in the community when they're out in their field work, and we just get to watch the whole transformation, which I think is really helpful. It also helps me as a teacher because sometimes some of the things that I've taught them didn't translate as well as I thought maybe when they were out in the field. So then I can come back and kind of adjust things within my courses as needed just through that cyclical process, which I think is a really unique opportunity.
Right on. Now, I know you mentioned earlier about some of the strengths that dyslexia can actually provide, or how it involves more, it encourages creativity in some cases. What's one thing you wish people would know about dyslexia that they may not know already?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing to understand is dyslexia is not rare. It's actually very common, and it oftentimes is not diagnosed as much as it could be or should be. But many people have characteristics of dyslexia. I think the biggest thing that I would love for people to understand is that it is a difference in how we learn to read, and as long as we're supporting it and providing the right strategies, everybody can be successful. I think sometimes school is hard. It's not always the right setting for every student. So being willing to adjust some expectations and to be patient and to allow the student the opportunity to show what they know without having to, maybe read a whole book and write a whole paper. If they listen to the book and they explain the whole book to you, the world would open up to them. So I think sometimes just understanding that we have the ability to support them to be super successful as long as we understand the way that they learn and the way that they express what they understand and what they learn. It would make school and work a much better place, I think.
I agree. Now, lastly, what message would you like to share with the incoming education students?
I think that they're coming into a very unique opportunity. Our education faculty and our School of Education as a whole is continuously looking at innovation opportunities in the field. So we are constantly revising our coursework, making sure that we are as relevant to our research and bringing that research into our classrooms. And then we have a lot of different unique opportunities and partnerships in our community with our different schools that we take advantage of and allow them to practice what they're doing in their coursework out in the field with the collaborations that we have. I think we continue to think outside the box. What does our field and education need? If we look at our public and private school systems right now, they're ever changing. And so we are constantly thinking of how we can best prepare our teachers to be the best when they get in the classroom. And we build those connections so that when they're out in the classroom, they always come back for help. So it's a really great time right now in education, especially with Thomas More, because we really are being innovative and helping to think of unique opportunities to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our community in the education field and preparing those pre-service teachers to be fantastic out there. So.
Right on. Well, that sounds like a bunch of exciting news, and I'm excited to see where you and the program go in the years to come.
Thanks.
Well, thank you again so much for being our Saint Spotlight today and taking the time to sit down and talk with us. And thank you all back home for watching another edition here of Saint Spotlights. Be sure to tune in for the next one and have a good one.